Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Salt the Streets podcast, the most pro-America, anti-government show you know, show where we discuss news, government, and culture and how it pertains to you, the individual, and your natural rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I, as always, am that big bird-looking fellow named Colin. I am once again, as always indeed, joined by my co-host, brother-in-arms, the Nero of Neoprene, the original Salt of the Street himself, Donovan. How are you today, sir?
I am excellent, sir. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, every time, baby. Every time. You're always welcome to the studio. First show of the year. Very excited. Happy 2023, everybody. We're very excited to be here. Donovan, what are we going to be talking about today?
Part one, as always, we have some local stories going on, and we have some other bigger things that we'll be discussing. Let me ask you this, as always. We're going to begin with part two. We have some more national things, some at home, if you will. We're talking about the Speaker of the House, omnibus bill, some of the House rules that were passed. There was the DOD failed the audit. All these things going to be tied together. And then part three, we're going to be talking a lot about Ukraine, some things that are going on there, especially regarding BlackRock, the rebuilding and whatnot. We also going to be discussing some things going on with the U.S. Attorney in the Virgin Islands. Ooh. Then in part four, we have the grab bag going on. And as always, you're going to lead me through that.
Oh, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
There may or may not be some Venn diagrams and school bus talk.
All the things.
As usual.
Yeah. We got a great show.
We do. And what date is it today?
Yes, today is January 14th, 2023, episode 140, our very first of the new year. Thank you for being here, everybody.
Yeah, we back, baby. And I do have an answer to our before the show question.
Yes.
And it is in particular the Blackbeard flag.
Yes.
Which
there's a name.
Of course.
Then there's a name for it, for that particular image.
I like it.
Yeah.
Huge fan. It's a very interesting. It looks very cute with the little hearts come off his sword, which I think is supposed to be blood. But anyways, that's a whole nother aside.
Whatever you say.
Yeah, indeed. So I think I could ask you about how your New Year's was and how your holidays was, but we're already multiple weeks into the year.
It was good. We're moved into the new house. We're getting the new studio figured out. We're doing those things. We had ended by talking about that we may be starting this new year in a new studio, and so we are obviously not in the new studio. So
not yet.
But we are. It is in the works.
I did have a conversation yesterday with a electrician, and kind of asked him about the logistics of what we were looking to do, and he was like, "Yeah, it's just like a regular sheetrock and studs house and stuff." And I was like, "On one wall, yeah." He's like, "Well, that's easy." He's like, "If you want to do anything else on the other side, because it's concrete,
plaster.
It's plaster.
Yeah.
So it's probably plaster and the old lath and plaster situation." He's like, "Yeah, you won't want to do that one. We could put it all on one side, and we'll be very happy."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, okay, let's stick with that. Let's do that."
No, that will be just fine.
Yeah, because all we need is just a little. We just need some power.
Yeah,
and then we're good to go.
We've got a good space going on. It looks good. So
it's going to be upgraded.
Yes.
Even with our relatively high ceiling here. I thought was a nice thing, and it's turned out it's been kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Because you can't use the ceiling if it's way the fuck up high without getting crazy.
I think that'll sound good in there too.
It already sounds better. We haven't even done anything to it. It sounds nice.
Yeah. So
things to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, let's just get into this. I want to tell everybody, obviously, or I want to remind everyone, of course, to evaluate and adjust your relationship with the CCP. We talk about this every time that we start here. We talked about it in particular the last time that we were here because I think we were talking about the protests that were happening in China and Apple kind of shutting down the Bluetooth and the AirDrop. Thank you. The AirDrop function on people's phones. So just do everything you can, evaluate and adjust your relationship with the CCP, because as we know, they are doing everything they can to actively infringe on the rights and the freedoms of the people that live there, the citizens of China. So do everything that you can. And I feel like flunky because it's like a rough getting back, still bumping off.
It's been a while, man. I think you're doing fine.
Thank you. No, so let's just get right into it. Let me ask you this. Right?
Oh yeah. Let's play the thing.
With that, let me ask you this.
It worked so good.
It was perfect. It was flawless. There has been a lot of talk lately, especially after the midterms, of a particular Representative Santos, right?
Yes,
Is his last name.
indeed.
This guy's lying
Representative
about all the
Santos.
things, right? His all the things from like his grandparents and like his education and anything you could think of. This guy lied about to get his job there, right?
Drew Baby asked me about this the other day at work.
Oh, he did.
He's like, "Do you know about this guy?" I'm like, I know a little bit about him. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, why is there no punishment for public officials lying to their constituents? Because that's a big, people are very upset, right?
Yes.
His constituents are upset. People who aren't his constituents are upset. How could somebody be there? And he's not going to resign. He's been open about that. He's like, I'm going to keep rocking it. Kevin McCarthy is saying, listen, I'm going to let the votes do their thing in 2 years. We're just going to let this play out as far as we can. And people are confused, why is there no recourse? Why isn't anything happening to him? He lied so much. Why? So why isn't there a punishment for public officials lying to their constituents?
Okay, so I was listening to an episode of PBD yesterday. Patrick Bet Davidson, I think. And
Patrick Bet David.
And he got into it with one of his co-hosts because of something I'm going to try to avoid. And I'm going to try to isolate this particular question to this particular context, right? Because we all know all politicians lie, period.
Right. So I'll even be more specific.
But this is very specific.
I'll even be more specific, but I don't mean campaign promises, because you can't feasibly keep every campaign promise that you make of I'm going to do this, because you have to work within a body to do that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about genuine, actual lies of I am choosing and selecting what information I provide to you. An actual lie.
Yeah, like I'm gonna stand out in the sea of politicians who all lie about themselves, because I did it the absolute worst. I sold you a bill of goods on who I am,
right,
which was completely and utterly false.
Precisely.
Why is there no recourse to that?
Yes. No punishment, no anything.
I think because it's not illegal to lie, except in very specific circumstances, right? And you can elect a ham sandwich to the office. It doesn't matter who it is. You put the name down, that's the dude who it is. So, I mean, he will have consequences for sure. But I don't think they're like, I don't know, man. I get hesitant trying to like pursue some form of like a legal action or a criminal action to that realm, because what are the objective statutes that you could assign to something like that without it getting very, very subjective. But I guess the reason why there's no punishment is because people could be smarter than that. And actually, why do we know that he's all fake now, and we didn't know that when he was running? Maybe he just went under the radar, and because he's first timer, right? Yeah. And so there was not a whole lot
from Republican donors.
Yeah, and there wasn't a lot of Oppo research done onto him, probably because he was in a safe district or so on. So this is just, do your fucking due diligence before you just check a box or write a name in there. If you don't know who this dude is, don't vote for him. I don't think that there's any real recourse to this other than the fact that he'll never have another job again. He's not going to have any power in Congress. The people in his district are going to be very, very ill-served because he will have zero power. He won't have any committees. He'll just be pariah in the Congress, if not, I know that there are things people can do in Congress to like push him out of Congress and stuff like that.
Right. He could be like censured and all the different. Yeah.
But I mean, why is there no recourse? It's because you can lie about anything you want to be a politician. It's not a big deal. You'll suffer the consequences when the truth comes out. And if you didn't do anything illegal, you didn't do anything illegal. You're just a huge piece of shit. This is a cautionary tale. That's all. It sucks for those people, but then again, I don't feel that bad for you. Sorry. Right. My bad. I mean, you could also probably lay a lot of blame on the Republican establishment for not doing their due diligence and just feeding this fucking piece of shit money.
Millions and millions and millions.
But, a good portion of that might have come from Democrats. You never know these days. But, I don't know. I wouldn't advocate for anything Fuck it. I mean, you did it, bro. You made it. You made off. You fucking Bertie Madoff yourself all the way into Congress.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
You
buddy.
did it, bro.
You did it. But we all found out, so that sucks.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm torn between. I still carry a little bit of idealism inside of me, you know. So I would like to think that
A little bit.
I would like to think that it's because the founders are thinking it's going to be good people, you know, that are like elected to this office. I think that it's because this is the natural course of government that they're going to lie. People who want that power are going to say whatever, who want the power and don't actually want to help you, are going to say and do whatever they need to do to get there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why there's all this money involved. That's why Kevin McCarthy is getting to the speakership by the amount of donation that he gets and stuff like that. And
Oh, and also, you got to remember, too, back Founding Fathers days, the people that voted had fucking stake in the game.
yeah,
Property holders and, you know, people that had a better idea of what the consequences of any one of their votes were going to be. Because the scale at that point, it was a way different landscape back then. I mean, it was a handful of people voting that represented a massive area when compared to, like, the populace that lived there.
Yeah.
It's not like it is today. I mean, this whole one person, one vote thing it's kind of thrown that whole ideological concept of, like, voting. It's muddied the waters a lot, made it real murky and inconsequential to a lot of ways. But yeah, no, I think that's a good point you make. I think it's a good point because
this is just
power,
the
baby.
natural way of
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I don't have one for you today. I do not. I will say this though in regards to something we're going to talk about in
That's a dog fart. that
it
is
is.
a dog fart. That is a dog fart.
God.
Oh my goodness.
dying over. I'm glad I got a candle going, but it's not helping. Okay. I'm like right in the blast zone. Oh, my eyes are watering. I can't do this. Oh,
Wow.
okay. Keep it together. Yesterday on Timcast IRL,
Matt Gates.
Matt Gates was on there.
Yes, I watched that.
Perfect
last night as I was
fucking timing.
Yes.
Because ton of great insider information about the vote and everything that just happened. Stuff we're going to get into in part 2. But a lot of what you were talking about there, Ian, let me ask you this. It made me think of some of the stuff he talked about last night. Oh my God, that helps so much. That smoke, that worked so much. Oh, that was terrible, Chloe.
That was
Good Lord.
That was one of maybe it might have been the worst dog fart I've ever smelled.
Even worse than the famous review preview dog fart.
Yeah, because we've been gassed out many times in this studio. As your dog gets older,
Yeah,
she really fucking rips them. You know,
it's bad, dude. It's bad.
she really fucking rips them.
Well, before we talk about the elephant in the room, I want to talk about something light and fun. I don't know what you're talking about either, because there's nothing odd about your appearance at all today. Well, actually, we know you, of course. So, tomorrow is the premiere of a brand new show that I know you're excited to watch. The Last of Us comes out tomorrow. I should rephrase that. Excited. You've been enthusiastic about your opinions about the casting of this show. But yeah,
I'm
I saw
trepidatious to say the least.
That was good.
Of the show itself.
Yeah, I like it.
So let me preface with this, right? My favorite video games, in no particular order, are The Last of Us and the Fallout series. I mean, that's it. That's it for BioShock, the BioShock series.
Oh yeah.
These are my favorite games, right? The Last of Us, I've never played the second one because it came out after I had children and I just do not have the time. The first one came out before I had kids, when Jordan and I were just dating. We weren't even married yet. Mm-hmm. And it was maybe the best standalone game I've ever played.
I've heard
from
those
a personal
things.
standpoint.
Yeah.
Like,
from people that don't even like that aren't huge fans of that kind of heavily story-based kind of like you play the... Right. These days, a lot of it's first-person shooter type stuff. It's strategy shit, blah, blah, blah. This story-based, you do the whole thing is not that popular with everybody.
No.
And I've heard the same thing you're saying from multiple people who that's not really their genre.
Yeah.
They're
no,
like,
it's
best
not.
game ever made.
Yeah, Fallout was always my thing. Fallout 3, New Vegas, Fallout, like those have always been my type of game. So I was really also into like Morrowind when I was younger, like the RPGs. So yeah, big into RPGs. So yeah, this type of storied game was not always my thing. This particular game was maybe the best standalone game I've ever played. From the functions, the story was incredible. It had me pissing my pants at certain times from fear because it would make me jump. And then when I ended it, I actually cried. I dropped a genuine tear with the end twist of, it's just not even a spoiler anymore. Of
the second game's done.
Right,
I mean,
you've played this game before, right? So
I have watched the game.
Okay, so at the end of the game, Joel takes Ellie from the hospital, doesn't allow this operation to be done on her, and she inquires about what happened, and he lies to her, and she makes him promise this is what happens, and he's like, yeah, for sure that's what happened. So he lies to her at the end of the game. I was in tears. Yeah, it was a whole deal. So when I found they were going to make a show, it just trepidatious. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When I found out there was just going to be a show, and then I saw this casting,
Pedro Pascal, bro.
Bad choice. That's a bad call.
So why is Pedro Pascal bad for Joel?
For Joel, and I'll even start with this. I like Pedro Pascal.
I like Pedro Pascal.
Him as an actor.
A lot of good stuff.
Not him. This dude still has an accent, like a South American accent.
Oh boy.
Right. Joel is from Texas. The game starts in Texas at his house with his daughter.
Well, I mean,
when she dies,
he's
still from Texas. It's only been 15 years.
Texas is basically Mexico.
Only been 15 years. It's not that long. And then they're in Boston. If anything, he would start talking like somebody from the Northeast, not like somebody from South America. So
the game is based in Boston.
We can watch this if you want. It starts in Boston, and then they end up in Utah and like outside of Utah in a hospital outside of Utah. So that's where it ends up. But it starts in Boston.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we could watch the whole trailer on YouTube. I don't want to take that.
I honestly don't
want to do that.
But
we'll let it play in the background.
I'm very nervous.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be good. And I'm not a fan of the new trend of turning video games into shows and movies.
It has not been that successful in the past. See Resident Evil, see Silent Hill, see what's that Nathan Drake one that Spider-Man just
was
did.
Maybe the worst piece of dog shit I have ever watched. Jordan put it on there. I couldn't believe how horrible that fucking movie was. The thing about taking a game and turning it into a movie is that when you make it with real people, it has to be a little bit believable. Even if you're going to make like a The Last of Us style world where there's zombies now, all of this stuff is still, all of that can still happen. All of those things can still happen. In Uncharted, they're hanging outside of a plane with cars and cargo crates that are all attached with a giant cargo net, and they're hanging on and doing a gunfight in the air while the plane is taking off. There's only attached to a boat. Then the boat, the ancient ship made of wood, drops out of the sky into the water, stays completely intact, and they continue the gunfight on the boat.
What?
It was one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my entire life. I tried to turn it off, and Jordan said, no, I want to finish this. Multiple times I tried to turn it off, and she was like, no, just let it play. At a certain point, she's just fucking with me because she knows how horrible it is. Still just fucking with me.
So was it kind of a, if you suspended disbelief, kind of a fun, action-y shoot-'em-up movie?
I guess.
Yeah. You can't even fathom.
If you're a fucking idiot. Got it. It's
so
I love Marky Mark, man, but they're just
Marky Mark's in that.
Yeah,
that's right.
Marky Mark and Spider-Man, and they're just snarking it up back and forth to each other. You can't trust me. I'm gonna undercut you. I'm gonna do this. You can't trust me. I can't trust you. Steal from this person. I'm lying. You're lying. This person's lying. I have issues in the past, and it was horrible. It was horrible.
Almost like we could come up with a better story than that.
It was horrible.
Wow. Another schmishmortion of a debut. Oh, go ahead.
What's the guy's name who was Nick Offerman? right? Nick
Oh, Nick
Offerman
Offerman,
plays
yeah.
this crazy person in this game.
Yeah, I remember
right?
you
Bill,
being really pissed off about this.
because Nick Offerman is inherently funny.
Yes.
I don't care how serious you're trying to be because he's supposed to be a legit crazy person.
Yeah.
Bill and Joel are friends, and Bill almost kills him when he comes into his town. Bill has like a whole town that he kind of runs to himself, like just a little neighborhood town that he's got all trapped up, booby-trapped, all this type of shit, right? He almost kills Joel when he comes in because he's a crazy person, even though they are friends.
Wow.
Nick Offerman is too funny. He's inherently funny. His face is funny. Everything about him is funny.
I mean, you can't get a little crazy from that, though? I mean,
And nope,
he could be crazy. No?
he's funny. I think.
So,
And this is why, because when he was Ron Swanson, that's the
Yes.
guy's name, right?
Yeah, I was gonna
He
say, the
plays
Park and Rec
like
fucks
the
it up.
deadpan, the straight man funny. So you can't then do serious roles that are serious, crazy person serious because you've been the straight man for however many seasons that show was on, like a million seasons, 11, 12, some shit.
yeah, I mean, he's also in, like, I don't know, if A League of Their Own, the TV series, so for some reason. The Resort, The Great
remaking it?
North, Colin Black and White, Simpsons, The Devs, The Good Place. That's right, he was in that. Lucy in the Sky. Good Omens. That's right, he was in Good Omens.
So,
But he does always play kind of that typecasted, deadpan comedy type thing.
Yes.
Like, he's so serious, he's hilarious.
Yes.
So I could see how that does not translate.
So
That's
you
right.
want-
He did a voice for in Bob's Burgers.
Right.
For a
So
few
you want to
episodes.
make him more serious? That's how you want to try and run it, is just make him more serious. That's the answer.
Interesting.
I don't think so.
Oh man.
So I will watch this, but I fully expect it to be an abortion of a television show.
Do you have HBO Max?
Yes.
Okay. Then you will watch
Get
it.
it for freezies with
Oh
AT&T.
yeah, look at that! Look at you being all AT&T's. Another show that I wanted to bring up that was absolutely terrible, just because we're on the topic, that was recent, based off a video game, was fucking Halo. That was.
They made a show,
Oh yeah, they did. Unfortunately, it was rough.
a movie that they made
The movie,
a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That was okay.
The Fall of Reach, I think is what it was called, based off the first book.
I don't remember what it was called, but it was mostly about kids
Yeah,
like training to be in something, and
Yeah,
the Master
that's
Chief
the-
is in the last like 10 minutes of it.
yeah, that's the first book, it's The Fall of Reach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that was actually relatively okay.
It wasn't bad.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it was all right.
the book ain't winning no awards. We'll put it that way. And it
Okay.
was pretty all right. I think
Yeah.
they did an okay job. It was like that semi. It was real time, right? They weren't CGI kids, right?
No.
No,
They
no,
were.
they
Yeah,
were-
they
yeah,
were
it was
young
real.
adults.
Yeah.
They were. Yeah.
Yep. I'm trying to think because there was a bunch more at this. They've been doing this quite regularly.
The
And then
Halo thing, or just the video game.
Yeah,
Okay.
video games to screen.
Yeah.
And it has not Sonic the Hedgehog, kids
Was
movies. But I mean, how do you take a Sega game and turn that into a movie? That's just like take a character and drop it in there.
My kid's into it. You
Yeah,
know.
it's-
We're having a Sonic themed birthday party next week, so
Good.
yeah.
I saw the boy playing with his Sonic the Hedgehog action figures the other day.
Yep.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I'm glad. We're gonna watch it. I don't know if I'm allowed to watch it just yet because wifey's out of town. So
It
we'll
starts
see.
tomorrow.
Yeah, it starts tomorrow. Tomorrow, premieres Sunday, January 15th at 9 p.m. So it might be past your bedtime. Just kidding.
Yeah, right.
Just kidding.
I mean, I would like to go to bed before
Exactly.
9.
You're like, yeah, no, I have a bedtime, but I never get to do that because
No.
I have two small children.
And has a scheduled runtime of 1 hour and 25 minutes.
Woo!
Okay, so I'll be watching it on Monday, I guess, at work. It's probably just violence. There isn't like any there's
9
no sex in
episodes.
that show
9 episodes.
or in that movie. Well, they probably it's
HBO.
They'll probably slap some tits in there.
Yeah, it'll probably be in the first episode.
Yeah.
There's always tits in the first episode, and then they always go away after that. It's like that's how they fucking get you.
Yeah.
It's like Game of Thrones. Lots of tits the first episode, and then it was just dong from then on out.
It really peters off, doesn't it? I didn't really think about that. It's funny.
It was like in the first season, tons of TNA, right, including like the main character of Daenerys.
Right.
Like you saw all that situation
Yeah,
going on,
brothers feeling her up and stuff.
and then she stays close the rest of the show.
She's I think
She's very
it's
upset
like
about that.
I mean, it's probably got to have something to do with like a power structure thing, right? After
definitely.
But you almost would expect that it would just swing the other way, you know? Oh, Jesus. Oh, watch out for the growler above your head. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, my God.
All right, girlfriend. You can move to a new spot right now. What was that? That's the first time.
That was almost really bad, everyone. That was almost
Exciting.
really bad. This is quite the episode 140.
All right. I'm glad the camera was on you the whole time.
Oh, jeez. That was terrifying.
Woo! Show dog.
What are you doing?
I think she was having a dream or something like that and woke
Jeez.
her ass up. Hey, at least there's no key power structures over there that could have been unplugged. Oh, okay. Well, that's fun.
No critical infrastructure.
No. All right. Let's go heavy now. Let's go heavy because I know you want to go heavy.
I'm prepared to do so.
Okay. I'm going to pull up the thing that you sent me
Okay.
from the frack.
Yeah.
Is that? We'll do that.
Yeah, we can go with this. So this is the statement that they put out in response to a finalized rules decision that the ATF put down. That for years now, I don't know the exact length of time, the guidance has been, as far as AR-15s go with pistol braces, that if you have an AR-15 with a barrel length of less than 16 inches that has a pistol brace attached to it, a stabilizing brace, it is not, in fact, a short-barreled rifle and does not need to be registered with the ATF under the National Firearms Act.
And this would be colloquially, I think, by the naysayers, if you will. Those are referred to as AR pistols.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And those, yes, if you technically have an AR pistol, it needs to be registered with the government at that point.
Is what
and you
the
have to get a
ATF
tax
says
stamp
now.
and do the whole thing.
Oh yes, if you're gonna put a stock on your AR-15 that has a barrel length of less than 16 inches, that would make it a short-barreled rifle instead of a pistol, and you have to register it. So,
and so you have a standard length of a barrel is 16 to 18, right?
Yeah.
You can get long barrels are generally 18, 16.
Yeah.
What would a normal short barrel rifle length be? Is that 14?
anywhere between like 10 and 14 is pretty common. Any shorter than 10, you're really taking away from the ballistics capability of.
We're like that much max shorter.
Yeah, depending. 6 inches is probably about this much, so it depends. But it's not that.
It increases the lethality, obviously.
Oh, certainly. No, the reality is that there is no functional difference. The 223.556 bullet was designed to be fired out of a 16-inch barrel. So that is where it operates at its optimum lethality is at 16 inches. So
your accuracy goes down the shorter the barrel is.
Right. Functionally, in everyday use, there's a negligible difference between 16, 14, 12, and that's why people still do that. You do start to lose some distance and stuff like that, but within the functional distance that people are really going to be using it doesn't make that big of a difference.
Yeah.
When you start to, like I said, go under 10, that's when you're taken away from the real ballistic capability. The bullet's going to start to tumble. You're also going to have enormous fireballs coming out of the end of the gun just because there isn't enough room for the powder to burn off inside of there. So there's a lot of flash. So those are less common. People still have them. We know a guy that has like a 7-inch barrel on an AR-15. That's not very practical, but if you're just talking about a short distance and in like a really bad scenario, then
it'd be real like close quarters type use, right?
And in real proper, like that guy in particular knows like that's not coming out unless it's like a real, there is a mass shooting going on that he happens to be in proximity of and he's trying not to die. That's when he's taking that out. Like that's, I've seen him shoot it one time to make sure that it was still zeroed in, and so
So we have new rules
that
came down.
Yeah, sorry, I got sidetracked. So, yes, new designation came out that everybody who has been following the rules as they have sat that has put a pistol stabilizing brace on their AR-15 to keep it from being a short-barreled rifle. Those are all now considered short-barreled rifles, and they need to be registered with the ATF within the next 120 days. There is actually a list of options that you have if you have one of these items that you can.
I saw a list. I just don't know if it was the real list.
Yes. The options that they have given people is that you can register your firearm because it's now considered a firearm. It used to be if you had a stabilizing brace on, it was technically considered other than a firearm. That's like the legal designation of it, and that's why it was in this weird gray area. And they're like, just we'll just talk about it later, right? Now they're saying it fits into the classification of an actual firearm, and it now needs to be registered. So you can register your short-barreled rifle. You can put a longer barrel on it if you want, which makes it obviously then a rifle and not a short-barreled rifle. You can destroy your rifle if you would like. You can give it to the federal government. You can just hand it over to them. You can take the stabilizing brace off and destroy the stabilizing brace so that you can't put it back on your gun. Those are the options that you have. Or you can become a felon. That's the last option. If you don't do any of these things, you in 120 days will be in fact breaking a felony law, the National Firearms Act, and you will be considered a felon. So
So we're just making millions of people felons within 120 days.
Millions, yeah. I've seen anywhere from 3 million to like tens of millions. So I don't know what the real number is, so I don't want to quote a specific number because I don't want to be wrong. There are, in fact, millions of people who own pistol stabilizing braces that have them intact on AR-15s with shorter than 16-inch barrels. And they have been doing so under complete legal means for the last however long they've been doing it. And the federal government, the ATF, has now decided that all of those people are breaking a felony law, a federal law, if they do not register their firearms with the federal government.
And this is under the auspices...
Or take one of these other actions.
Which, I mean, register it or destroy it, essentially. Give it to the government or destroy it.
Yes.
That's the long and short of it. And this is all under the auspices of the first confirmed head of ATF in how many decades at this point? We talked about it on the show at one point. He was, if I recall correctly, don't quote me on this, he was like a attorney in Pennsylvania for a long time or something like that. So... and was not that active in the world of firearms before this. So we were kind of questioning what may or may not happen at this point. Well, obviously, we now have this.
This is what happens.
So how do you feel about this, Donovan? What are your innermost thoughts about... because you do not have an SBR.
Nope. No, I brought my rifle here today.
But you still have strong feelings about it.
Yeah, this is a rifle. This is a stock on it, and this is a 16-inch barrel. This is the only rifle that I own, the only AR-15 that I own.
I thought you had an 18-inch for some reason.
Nope. Okay. Just a 16 comes standard 16. So, and I haven't swapped out the barrel. I only have like maybe 2,000 rounds through it. So because I've not shot it out or anything yet.
If guns were used cars, you'd have very little mileage on that bad boy.
Yeah. I don't go out very often at all. I'm not a prolific trainer as like on the scale of,
like fucking Shootaroogie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Them dudes are always out there. I'd still say you're above average though too. As far as like the peak, user of it,
at the peak, when I'm active in it, I don't. When reason's like probably a year old, I think it'll be easier to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, I think so.
But I've thought about this a lot all morning to try and not be upset, because when I get too upset about it, I don't make like a ton of sense about it. I think that it's very obvious that this is. It's not only an infringement on your constitutionally protected rights of your ability to own a firearm uninfringed by the federal government. This is also an infringement on your natural rights to self-defense. It's one of the reasons that we talk about this particular thing so frequently, because one of the best ways that I find for people to understand the concept of freedom is to lay out for them that the federal government is now telling you that you're breaking a federal crime because you have a particular piece on the gun that you have. This is what they're doing. This isn't because it's more dangerous or because it's scarier or because you're going to kill more people with it. That isn't the reason. It's to slowly limit and take away your ability to defend yourself. That's why they're doing this. And if we look at every example from modern day, because we talk about it consistently, the people in South America, the people in China that don't have the ability, the people in Australia right? It's not for all you people out there. It's not just the brown people. It's not just the yellow people. White people too, everywhere around the world, are having their ability to defend themselves taken away from them. And when that happens, they are subject to tyrannical rule by their government.
Canadians.
We all exist in governments around the world. You in Canada now, you have the right to own a rifle to hunt anyone. That is all. That is all. You don't have the ability. You don't have the right to defend yourself with a gun in Canada. Justin Trudeau has said that. That's a direct quote from the Prime Minister of Canada. You don't have that right there. And when that happens, people can come into your house and they can move you to a, let me be very specific about this, a government designated quarantine facility when a pandemic breaks out, because you have no recourse. They have the ability to take your child from your arms in a hospital because you have no recourse, because you have made a request that they find to be outlandish, that they don't find any medical basis, right? I'm not justifying, I think we all kind of know a little bit what I'm talking about, the parents in Australia who asked for non-vaccinated blood to be used in a procedure for their child. I'm not justifying their actions. I'm not anything. I'm saying that they stood in a hospital room and watched police officers wearing very similar equipment to what I'm wearing now remove their child from their possession because they had no recourse. This is what happens when your ability to defend yourself is taken away from you, and I cannot be adamant enough about how important it is not only that we do not comply with this, but that you do the exact opposite. We as a show have been telling you for as long as I have been into it, you need to own equipment like this. You need to own equipment like this. You need to know how to use it. You need to know how to be lethal with it. You need to know how to defend yourself, how to defend your home, how to defend your family, how to defend this place that we live. Because they will try and take it from you. They will try and take it from you. Any one of those things. I'm not telling you what it is. I'm not telling you who it is. The government will take, the powers that be, the people who are trying to take it from you right now, they will take this from you. You have to fight to keep it. I'm not calling you to action. I'm not telling you to hurt anybody. Let me be very specific. I am not telling you to hurt anyone. I am telling you, you have to stand up for your rights, because it isn't just about the Constitution. This is about your natural rights as a human being everywhere, everybody around this planet has. No other human being is better than you. They do not have the right to dictate to you how you can or cannot defend yourself and defend your family and defend your property. They don't have that right. They don't have that ability. And if they try and put that right upon you, it is your right to stop them. So I'm asking you, I'm telling you, do not comply with this. Do not listen to this. This is unconstitutional. This is a direct infringement on your rights. Do not listen to this. You need to be buying body armor. You need to be training with this. You need to know how to use these items. You need to teach people how to use them safely. You need to be responsible with these things. You need to store them safely in your house. You need to be doing this. It's not a question anymore. You need to be doing this. You need to understand the larger picture at hand here. It's deeply important.
I think that's very nicely said.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about in the legal realm. I don't know if you know this off the top of your hand. I thought I saw you guys talking about it today. Are there legal actions now being pushed against this? Is there
nothing has been announced yet because it takes time. That happened Friday evening and Saturday now. Courts are closed around the country. So it's going to, I would imagine, Monday morning, because what I sent you, is a statement from the Firearms Regulatory Accountability Coalition. And I'll read that. Let me just pull it up on my computer here. And this came out, this is what I read to you yesterday when we were out to lunch. And so this is what came out right after this ruling was released. So this is, like I said, this is from the Firearms Regulatory Accountability Coalition for public release, subject ATF brace ban final ruling 2021R-08F. Industry members, allies, and supporters. Today, the ATF/DOJ released their final rule regarding, quote, factoring criteria for firearms with an attached stabilizing brace, 2021R-08F. Their rule categorically proclaims that upwards of 10 to 41 to 40 million firearms equipped with such braces are now, by executive fiat, quote, short-barreled rifles under the National Firearms Act, and that those firearms must now be centrally registered with the federal government as such, contradicting a decade of precedent and public understanding on the matter. This rule is an abject repudiation of the rule of law by the weaponized ATF bureaucracy against the firearms industry, the Second Amendment, and the American people. We will not stand for this, nor will we take this lying down. The ATF must be held accountable to the rule of law. To the ATF, we say only this: we will see you in court. In liberty, Travis R. White, President and CEO. So I can guarantee that this will be challenged in the courts. I guarantee this is not the only group that is doing this. Yeah. I would not expect that the courts would allow this to be enforced in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Like an immediate injunction would be set,
we
I'm
saw,
sure.
I think just this last week that the ban on bump stocks was overturned, right? That happened during Donald Trump. I think that was 2017. It was in response to the shooting that happened in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So
what happened to that?
That was like 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So it took 6 years. People who owned those, they had them taken from them. They turned them into the government. Like all these things already happened. It's now ruled that you can't actually ban that. You actually aren't allowed to do that as the president.
Which seems like good precedent.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it's very good. But it took 6 years for that to happen. I think the difference is there weren't that many people that owned bump stocks, just because it was like, it's like the same thing as like the forced reset trigger. Not that many people own them. They do own them, but it's more of a niche type of thing. The bump stock in particular, from what I understand, like it's kind of finicky. If you're not using it consistently, then you're like, you got to learn it. You know, you have to really kind of figure it out. So
yeah, it's kind of like almost a learned skill at that point. Just because you buy the skateboard doesn't mean you know how to skate yet.
Right. So comparison as far as the numbers go, there are way more people that own these stabilizing braces and have them installed on firearms than people that owned bump stocks. So
just anecdotally, I would say I know lots of people that have lots of firearms. None of them have bump stocks or are even interested in owning a bump stock, but lots of them have pistol braces.
I know one person who has a tax stamped SBR.
Oh, interesting.
One. And it's my uncle, and he has other AR pistols. I was like, why did you? Because I just wanted to have one that was like a proper SBR, you know, like it's tax stamped. Like, and he lives in Oregon, so they're a little more weird about like taking it to the range and stuff. Like people will press him on it. So it's like I just wanted to have one that was proper, you know, that was legit. So that was just a personal quest that he wanted.
Yeah.
But he has, like I said, other ones that are pistols that have the braces on them and everything. So.
It seems
extremely
benign.
common.
Yeah, and I want to say it seems benign, right?
It makes no functional difference. Most of them now, they even adjust on the stock. Like the first ones were fixed and they were very short, but now they even function the same as a stock. They are functionally the same.
Yeah,
their intended use is different.
Yes, and I'm saying as far as the new classification goes, a lot of the uninitiated will say, might seem like this seems like a very benign thing. It's like, well, why don't you just register it? That's fine. It's just do it. I mean, what's the matter, man? I mean, just do what they tell you to do. It's not that big a deal. You're just going to be, why is it so hard for somebody to just be like, well, okay, that's fine. I'll just register my short barrel rifle thing now.
Right. So,
and to the uninitiated, it seems very benign, but in a world where we have seen in multiple avenues the government utilize these registrations and things like that for various different things to oppress the population in multiple different ways. I mean, all you need to do is relive what just happened over the last few years in COVID to understand why this is a really, really, really bad idea.
Well, and you can even see with the forced reset triggers, we've played this videos. They used online credit card purchases to find out who had them and went to your house. If they have a list, they will use it. We have seen that already.
Yep.
Right? They used online purchases to find out who potentially had forced reset triggers. They went to their homes without a warrant to request that they willingly turn over something that has not actually been ruled illegal yet. The ATF just said you can't have it.
Yeah.
If they have a list,
They will use it.
If they have a list, they will use it. This is functionally, if you're taking everybody who owns an SBR, an AR-15 with a shorter than a 16-inch barrel, everybody, right? And that's a ton of them. Because you can buy them that way. You can buy pistols like that. If you're going to build one, you can buy a fully made upper that just has a 14-inch barrel, a 10-inch barrel. That you can buy them that way. That's a very, very common, extremely common, because most people who buy an AR-15, who are just dipping their toes, they're getting into it. They're going to buy a pre-built gun. I'm going to put just like this one, right?
Right off the shelf, basically.
Right off the shelf, out of the box. I bought this rifle, and I got a handguard. I got a different handle for it, a light, an optic, those things, right? But this rifle came just like this out of the box. I own the paint, right? I did the paint myself. Most people do it that way. After that, they have a long one, like, shit, I want a short one. I want a different one. I want something else, right? At that point, it's very easy to build one. Even if you don't want to do all the work yourself, you can buy a lower, as we've talked about, a whole lower, the stock, the handguard, everything that's all one piece, and then a whole upper that's a barrel, this handguard, the upper, everything that's all one piece. So it's really just two pieces. You can do that.
Yeah.
But you can choose what companies they come from, how they look, the different stuff.
Yeah.
That's very common.
It's way more plug and play than even like today's PCs.
Yeah.
Which are, generally speaking, literally you buy X amount of parts, plug, and you're done. It's easier than that.
Yes.
It seems very complicated, but it's really not.
Because if you do it like that, there's two pins. If you buy it the way I just described, there's literally two pins right here. And you put the two things together and you pop the pins in and it's ready to go.
It's pretty fantastic.
It's that simple, right? It's very common for people to do that, especially if they want to start getting into suppressor stuff. I mean, people hunt with them all the time, especially in the South. People hunt with AR-15s all the time.
Yeah,
boars and shit like that. I mean, it's very common. So,
but the only time I could justify wanting an AR when hunting is like if I'm hunting something like a boar, where they're fucking dangerous, man.
Yeah.
You need to put off you need to be able to put off multiple rounds in quick succession.
It cuts so harshly against general knowledge and understanding to think that people are only using these things to commit crimes, right? Because the National Firearms Act was in response to essentially all of the organized crime that came out of Prohibition, right? So short-barreled rifle thing has to do with sawed-off shotguns.
Yeah.
Like, that's where this originates from, is people carrying sawed-off shotguns in their trench coats and then showing up to a club to kaboom and blow away one of their adversaries, right? That's not, of course that's still being done. Not really how people use short-barreled rifles anymore, right? And that's why stuff like this happens with this infrastructure thing, right? Where they show pictures of short-barreled rifles that someone literally, because no one fucking done this because it's retarded. What they did, the pictures they showed, don't actually make any functional sense. You do that shit if you literally don't know anything about guns. To take a hunting rifle and just chop the end of it off and put a made-up fucking suppressor on there, for what? To ruin the ballistics capability of that rifle? Because it doesn't do anything anymore. Yeah. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, you probably compromise the structural integrity of the barrel, too.
Yes. No, it's just to...
So I never really thought about this, right? So just the way you said this, right? Because the National Firearms Act was enacted essentially in response to the organized crime caused by Prohibition. Yeah. So the government created a problem through Prohibition and then created a rule to crack down on the problem that they caused through interesting.
Precisely.
That seems like a general theme for the United States government, does it not?
Isn't that interesting?
Wow. Now, I'm trying to sit here. I'm trying to think about this. Removing the firearms aspect from this, right?
Okay.
Is there... I think I have an analogy. But is there any other item that an American consumer might purchase and own and keep on in their property that then the government turns around and makes illegal to have arbitrarily? other than say maybe like gas-powered leaf blowers, which is starting to happen.
Well,
But then they have this grandfather clause in, which is
Right.
weird. They don't do that with firearms. But is there any other item that you could think of? They're like, well, you can't have that now because it's illegal.
Light bulbs.
Oh, yeah, incandescent light
I don't
bulbs.
think they're going to take them from your house, but they're not going to sell them to you anymore. This is,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to have these. You're not supposed
But
to
you don't
use
become
them.
a felon.
No. No.
That's
No, certainly
you know?
not one that they're going to lock you in prison for. No.
I mean, maybe like there's like emissions things with cars, and then those are always like in certain states and cities like that. You can't, like in my old truck, I could never own my old truck if I lived in Seattle.
Right.
They would not allow that at that
Right.
point because it has too much of the emissions.
Yeah,
or
but
whatever.
they're not going to felonize you for it.
No.
And it.
They'll just fine it and then make it so that you can't register it or something like that. And then technically you can't have that vehicle,
Yeah, I mean,
but you're not a felon.
No, I mean some drugs, maybe medications, but like, yeah.
Yeah. That's it, huh? So it's just guns. Almost as if there's like there's a reason. There's an agenda at play here, perhaps.
Yeah, just the stuff that you would use to defend yourself or your family or your property in the modern day.
Interesting. Well, we have no problem trampling on people's rights in this country these days, so I guess it makes sense. Are you hopeful that this will not play out fully in the long term? Where's that white pill, baby? Maybe not.
No, I think that if we as liberty-minded people do the right work, then yes. If we allow this type of stuff to continue to happen, God love him, our friend that texted us earlier, if that's the way that we think about shit, of like, well, it's just time to register, we're definitely not going to win. This is not going to get any better, right?
Yeah.
If you just do what they say because they told you that it's
You don't ever think about it, bro.
the rule now, then no. You're going to lose everything that you have because the moment they said, this is how we do it now, you said, okay, that's not how this is done, right?
I take great solace in the fact that it used to be the only true powerful institution out there that could fight back against something like this was the NRA. But in today's modern world, the NRA has lost a lot of power and has been replaced exponentially by multiple smaller institutions that actually, I think, carry the correct ethos when it comes to 2A. They're not like pro-gun advocates, they're pro-2A advocates. And I think a lot of these smaller institutions, like, I just got rid of it, but whatever that, who you sent me earlier.
The frack.
The frack. I mean, a lot of these institutions now have much better, I think they're ideologically more centered around 2A and are going to be making the more proper arguments and pushing for the right things compared to like the NRA of the past. And I think that right there should also give some good hope and good solace because they're not going to be bowing down to the governmental powers at play here just because they can get a little bit more lobbying power here or a little bit more lobbying power here like the NRA was subjected to for so long. I think these people are going to be pushing for the right concerns and they're going to be doing the lawsuits the best way to protect the Second Amendment going after this law. I think that should bring some hope. We have better institutions around 2A than we ever have had before.
Definitely that will help. I think the real key is proliferation of understanding and ownership.
Yep.
If we even just use COVID as an example, right? We saw how many people will do whatever the government told them to do without questioning.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't even got to think about it.
The only thing that counteracted that is the amount of people that were unwilling to comply. Right. The only thing that broke these norms that they were trying to create were the amount of people that were unwilling to continue to wear a mask everywhere they went, to not wear a mask outside, to not go the way that the arrows were telling them in the grocery store. Right. That's the only way that these things stop happening is when the people the powers that be trying to enforce those realize it's not worth the effort being pushed, being used to try and get this done.
Yeah.
So the best way to fight this is proliferation of firearms, is proliferation specifically of these things that they're trying to ban. If they come to the point that we're talking about over half of the people that own AR-15s own these things that we're now telling them are short-barreled rifles is what are we really talking about, right? Are you really talking about trying to potentially confiscate firearms from people, from multiple millions of people around the country that are unwilling to turn them into you or register them with you? Because I guarantee you, the same thing they did with the force reset triggers, if you bought a stabilizing brace online, they're going to use that information. They're going to come to your house. They'll come to your house and ask you if you'll still have it because they know that you have it. So if you bought it online, they're going to come to your house. They don't need a warrant anymore. It's illegal. You're a felon. You have 120 days. So you can comply, or you can tell them to go fuck themselves, and you can say, I don't know what you're talking about. Because they will come to your house. They've already done it. We saw it. We played the videos here. That's not illegal. The force reset triggers aren't even illegal. They just said you can't have them anymore. They don't have a ruling for that. The same thing they do with the bump stocks. They'll take them from you. They'll come to your house. If you bought it with anything other than cash, they'll come to your house because they know that you have it. It's time to decide because you have 120 days. The clock is now ticking, actually ticking. It's not just we're sitting here, we're telling you one day they're working for it. This is what they're going for. They're doing it now. They just told you. You have 120 days. You can do what they're telling you, or you can do what we all know is right, and you can embrace freedom, liberty, and personal responsibility and stand up for your rights and tell them to go fuck themselves. Mola the Bay. This is the option that you have. You can come and take it from me because you don't have the right, you don't have the ability to tell me how I defend myself and my family. You don't have the right to tell me that I'm a terrorist now because you don't like the rifle that I own. They will come to your house. It's time to stand up.
I like the learn and understand your rights and responsibilities. Live them out. Learn them, live them out. That's what they're there for. The minute we allow them to step down on that is when they take them. They can't take them if we don't let them. I like it. I like it a lot.
And it's not easy. I have children. I have children. I have a wife. I've had extremely uncomfortable, very candid conversations with my wife about the realities of some of the things that we own, some of the ideas that I hold so dear at the core of who I am, the things that I'm willing to do to defend those things. And it's not simple. I'm not trying to stand up and grandstand, but this is important. These things are important. This is the most important, and this is the crux of all of it. Right? Your freedom in 2023 comes at the end of a gun. That's where your freedom comes from, because there is no other recourse. There is no other way to ensure that you are free other than you are defending it. You are ensuring it. Your might is your right to freedom. That is all, because they will take it from you. They will come to your house. They will take it from you. We've seen in other countries. They'll take you. They will just take you. If you give it to them, they will take you. They'll take your children from you. They'll take your family from you. They'll take everything that you have, because this is what they do. They're showing you now. They will take it from you. You have to stand up for it. You have to defend it. No one else can do it for you. I can only hold one gun at a time. I can carry two. That's it. You have to defend it.
I like it. Good stuff. Good stuff, sir. I always get I don't know, it's like I get patriotic butterflies when you talk about this stuff. You're very, very impassioned when you speak about this stuff, and people listen. I'll put it that way. You have the commanding way of speaking about what you care about and what you think is important, and I don't think there's anybody I can imagine out there that could do a better job of instilling the importance of what we're talking about today.
And we didn't plan this.
Right? This just happened.
I read that letter yesterday. And even then, I still didn't plan on talking about this because I hadn't quite taken in, like, that was the first thing that I saw. So I hadn't even quite understood everything that was going on. This was unplanned, but we've talked about it so many fucking times. Because of the path that I have walked with this, I mean, this is the crux. This is the core of it. This is the core of the freedom, man. So this is why I feel like it's so important. And when when I've had conversations with people about other countries, people who don't have that recourse, it's easier to understand. But the way that it's contextualized, even when it is presented to you through mainstream media, because corporate media talked about the protests in Hong Kong, but they didn't say, damn, if only these people could fucking shoot a gun, right?
Don't say that.
No
Don't
one
say
said
that.
Not a single person said that, even though that's the most obvious thing to draw from that, is when your government is literally taking your freedoms from you because they're rewriting the Hong Kong Constitution. They're literally actually taking your freedoms from you.
They're usurping your government and installing their own to take all of your rights away.
Not one member of corporate media said, wouldn't it be nice if they could fucking defend themselves? Because goddamn if that happened here, right?
And why do you think they were fucking waving American flags?
Not even Fox News. Not even Fox News. It's supposed to be far right. It's supposed to be all this shit. Not even Newsmax or any of this shit. You're not sitting there saying, if only these motherfuckers could just kill somebody, right? Because if that should happen here, you can't imagine. That's at that point, that's not even a wild thing to a thought experiment to run on corporate media.
Yep.
If you're on TV and you're saying, damn, if we really had a tyrannical government that was here and installed, that was trying to take people's rights, if that happened here, there would be a real showdown. Like, that's not a crazy, that's a very logical pathway to follow. Not one person. Not one. Because they don't actually care about that. They don't actually want you to know that.
Yeah.
They want you to see that it's happening so you can see that it's possible. That's all. Just know this can happen to you. Just know that this can happen to you. They don't want you to know that you have recourse. They don't want you to know that it actually couldn't happen here if you stop it from happening. They want you to think that it could. They want to make it look that easy.
That's wild. And not even Fox News.
Nope.
I mean, mind you, we're going to play a clip later of the Fox and Friends host calling the holdouts in the McCarthy vote insurrectionists. So,
They're terrible.
they are terrible.
Fox News is
All
terrible.
them people, bro.
All the corporate media.
Man. Well, this was unplanned, but we've been going for a little over an hour. Do you want to hit some socials and wrap up this segment? Just call that good for them? I think that works.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. This is a pretty... We had another, infrastructure attack here. I know really the biggest thing for me was the framing, the way that they're...
It was far-right people.
It's far-right people. They had the Turner diaries in their house. They fucking had these short-barreled rifles, even though it doesn't make any sense the way they had these short-barreled rifles. I think...
Well, let me pull it up real quick.
In my opinion, yeah.
We don't need to dive real deep into it, but I think it almost dovetails slightly with what we were talking about a little bit, kind of like framing to who the bad guys are.
Because these people, it turns out that they were committing burglaries, that they were cutting power to commit burglaries.
Yeah. So on Christmas Day, we had a number of attacks in our area, as well as throughout the country. There was a bunch more of these substation attacks on electrical substation attacks to cut power to people.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of people lost power on Christmas Day and shit like that. And it took a while to get everything back up and running. It wasn't anything like it was over in that North Carolina attack that we talked about months and months ago. But it turns out these specific ones here were done by two guys that have been locked up at this point who had a sawed-off shotgun and a sawed-off rifle to go in and just shoot up this equipment and then just short it, whatever happens to a substation when you shoot it all up. Apparently, it does happen like that, like they do in the movies. Just put a bunch of rounds in computers and then boom.
Well, and there's like tanks, like coolant tanks and stuff that are filled with oil that you can shoot. And like if the oil runs out, then they can't function. And these people, they were shooting some type of conduit or whatever on the outside that was like making the power stations arc and shit like that. So there's like wild electrical arcs happening over the top. Yeah, that's wild.
Electricity freaks me the fuck out, bro.
So, and I personally think once a bunch of idiots realize something like this is possible, like, wait, it's that easy? I can just shoot at a fucking power station and the power in X amount of places is just going to go out. I think it's going to probably become more prolific. Like, and I'm not saying there isn't on some levels maybe a larger thing going on, but like, so these particular people were committing burglars. They're trying to steal shit.
So they were shooting these things to cut the power in the places that they wanted to go burgle.
Yes.
And then they used cell phone data, much like they did in COVID, to find out where you're at, to track their movements, their locations, where they stopped, this whole 9 yards, where they went afterwards, and that's how they ended up hemming them up. But this part of the dovetail I wanted to do to this whole thing was all of these various attacks had even prompted Time magazine to write an article about it, and you would not be surprised when we say the title of the thing is, "There something more sinister going on? Authorities fear extremists are targeting U.S. power grid." And so they bundle all of these things together and try to throw on the domestic violent extremism label, the right-wing extremist label onto it, and now the far right is attacking the U.S. infrastructure grid. And that's the national narrative that's going on. And it's to the point where fucking Time Magazine's writing about it now. So
isn't that nice?
Isn't that nice?
And that's why they do things. Even the guys who are burglaring, right?
Yeah. When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. Thomas Jefferson, what is up, Joseph, in the chat? Thanks for joining us, good sir.
And that's why they laid things out like they had short-barreled rifles, even though functionally it doesn't make any sense for them to have that particular rifle. They have things like the Turner Diaries, even though they're not doing extremist shit, right? They still have the Turner Diaries, which is
I don't know the Turner Diaries.
I've never read the Turner Diaries, and at this point,
it's probably good.
At this point, I probably can't because if I did, it would just make it all that much worse.
Yeah, just make sure your VPN's on if you try to find it.
Yeah. So Turner Diaries, I looked it up, and it has to do with like a race war type of deal. I'm not trying to mischaracterize it. I've never read the fucking book, but a race war. These dudes take out power stations to try and take control of the government and then fucking kill minorities or some shit like that. So for people who are white supremacist extremists, it's like very standard reading material.
Oh yeah, it's in their stack.
Yeah, precisely. So I would read it. Don't think I can at this point because it just would make this whole thing a whole lot worse. When we get more famous, then I can read it. Because then I can be more open about like I'm doing this for the show.
That'd be a rough one for the book club to throw in right now.
Even in my private life, if the government found out that I had bought it, they'd be like, "This guy's definitely a fucking terrorist." So,
who would have ever thought? I would have never seen it. He seemed like such a nice guy.
Yeah, it's not an option at this point. So maybe in the future we'll get to the Turner Diaries, but not any time in the near future.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I don't need to be getting into that. I got too much other shit going on. That's funny. Okay, it's good. I feel good. We touched on it. That was worth it. So yeah, give us some social plugs, baby, and we'll close out part 1.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, of course, for joining us. I am at Salt of the Street on Twitter and at alpaca_Donovan on Instagram. Colin is a Big Bird Avi on both of those things. You can find all of this at saltofthestreets.com, including our Instagram.com/saltofthestreets, Patreon.com/saltofthestreets, and YouTube, of course, at Salt of the Streets.
Boom.
And the sponsor for our very first segment is Swell Blended.
Swell Blended.
Man, that's been helping me keep this mane going long and beautiful this whole time. So,
yeah, look at that. Give us a little side shot. Whoa! That's when it...
Going.
Man, I'm telling you, you still need to do that party in the front. But that's maybe one day. I'll just hold out hope.
No, never. Never. And with that, we're going to take our first break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you guys very much.
Bye.
To the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought.